This is an attempt to make a sketch of what a school of the future might be like. Now, nobody really knows what the future will be like, but we know what it won't be like. We know it won't be lots of children sitting in desks with pencil and paper writing all the day. We know that these new technologies, these computers, will be an important part of it. If you go into any school or any home, you'll find many pencils, many crayons, many paintbrushes, because these are instruments that people have made part of their lives. They use the pencil whenever they have a need for it, to draw, to write a story, to calculate. And so with the computer. It's the natural instrument for doing mathematics, for music, for 100 other things. And our goal here is to make it sufficiently part of the culture of the place that everybody uses it when it's needed. There are many aspects to what goes on in the school. We see children here writing stories. In other parts of the school, we see music. We see very special projects like Lego Logo. This might sound like playing with toys, but that's just what's so clever about it. They are playing with toys in a very sophisticated way. The Lego Logo project is one in which children build with the construction set Lego and then interface their construction with the computers so that they can control them. The children are learning to program. They're learning important ideas about motion, about feedback. They're learning principles of engineering design. Above all, they're learning that knowledge is a unified thing and that the scientific and formal and mathematical knowledge is not something separate from their passion for toys, from the things they did since they were small children before they even came to school.
Hello everybody, this is Uncle Code. The video that you saw shows Professor Seymour Papert. At 1986, he's sending a message to the future for you and me to tell us how should be the future of education. And I think now is pandemic, and one of the important sector in our life that changed a lot is education. And I want to bring technology to education even before the pandemic. So I decided to show you guys this video. And I think today's talk is about this concept. It's a very important concept that we understand that how the change is coming toward education. And surprisingly, a change that is not a new thing. Since 1986, educators, people, smart people, or touts leaders, they were talking about it. And I wondered why still we're talking about it, why it's not around. So that's our today. So follow me. Hello, Raj.
Uncle Code.
Yes.
Why did I not have toys like those when I was growing up? What's going on, Uncle Code? It's a lie.
because maybe you were living in a time that you were not lucky enough to have someone like this Pepper around you.
Because
Your parent knows about it.
you see, that video was shot in 1986, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
he has predicted the future of the education system
So clearly.
clearly. But why is it not like that in all classrooms now? Why is the conventional education system not what he said it's supposed to be?
Exactly. That's the question that I don't know what to say.
It's sad. I mean, any child would be thrilled to enter into a classroom and build like robotics, like Lego Mindstorms, things like that, right? Is this a whole new level? But anyways, Uncle Code, I think we are on the precipice of an interesting conversation today, educational technology. So let's just start off our conversation. I'm super pumped.
Definitely. I like to go that. I like to do this. It's a very important topic. And actually, that's the thing. Why since 1986, there's a person talk about that education should be about building and creating, and why it still is the questions. Why this is new? Why we surprised? So why nobody listened properly in the world? And now we're in this situation or position, and we like to talk about it. Yes, that's a today talk. So maybe I can give a little bit of introduction also to everybody here about the way that we're going to flow. We're going to talk about EdTech, right? And answer some questions about the EdTech. But I want to just say a few things first of all. You know, Raj, today public education system, right, has been around for more than 150 years. And the concept almost is the same always. The basic model is the same. Roughly 20 to 30 kids at the same age, stuffed into a classroom and taught by one teacher. You know, you feel lucky 20 to 30. I remember in my time we were in the classroom with the 56 students. Really, I'm telling you the story, the real. Yeah. And although curriculum has improved in these 150 years, but the essence and the basic model of teaching has stayed the same. Nothing changed that much. Children still taught in standardized and industrialized way. You know, this is very important, industrialized way, the way the industry wanted. And there were no shifting paradigm in the way we train and in the way we learn. But there has been enormous shifting paradigm in technology, in economy, in the society. Many things change, everything change. But when you look at the education sector, you don't see that kind of thing. However, technological wise, if you look at technology in a school, in education, in history of it, not just IT, I can see many things change. For example, from the moment that, you know, pencil introduced to schools, it was a great innovation, very, very great innovation, okay? And the moment that we had, in around 15th century, the invention of extremely disruptive innovation, printing machine. That was a great breakthrough because a school could build a book and a standard book, so that makes sense to be a standard. You know, we can't create a lot of books for every child. So we create one version and give it everywhere. So that was a very important moment for school system. And then chalk, and then blackboard, and then whiteboard, and today digital whiteboard and Zoom, okay?
Yep.
But education philosophy hasn't changed that much. And then COVID happened. So, or I should say, internet invented, and then 20 years later, COVID happened. So that's what we're going to talk. That's what we're going to focus on this. Understand it, and then what is this technology and this kind of stuff. So let us talk about this, and go through the questions.
Right. So, Uncle Ko, let's set the stage, right? In a very simple and easy to understand manner, what exactly is EdTech, educational technology? And maybe you could share a bit about how EdTech came about.
I think it's good that talk a little bit of history. You know, a little bit of history is good to know about this. And I want to connect this story to a philosophy behind the reform education, because within the last 150 years, exactly the time that is today a school system formed, there have been many people that they were criticizing the school system. We call them a reformist educator. And then the guy that we saw in the video is one of them, but have been before him other people. So that's why I like to a little bit bring that concept and attach it to technology, because that's what technology tried to do. Disrupting is the job of innovative technology, right? Like what YouTube did with the media. So that's the part that I like to a little bit talk about it. So let me bring up a really interesting concept, which is connected to also the Seymour Papert. Constructivism is a theory. Okay, we call it constructivism. It's a theory that says that learners should construct knowledge rather than just passively they take information, memorizing and bring it back. This means constructivism. There are three major philosophies in education: behaviorism, constructivism, and cognitivism. That's a topic I like we talk about in another maybe Uncle Talk. Really interesting. I think behaviorism, you know it. Behaviorism is just like punishment and reward, a positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, the way you even use it for animal. Okay?
Very familiar. Very familiar with that.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
But in contrast with that approach, the constructivism, which is going to make the students to be very active, so it's focusing that learners should construct the knowledge, okay? Construct the knowledge. And because it says that as people experience the world and reflect to the world through their own experience, that's how they build their own representations and interpretation of the world. That's how we build the knowledge, like animal, like children. We trial and error, we experience. If you take this chance from me, take out this chance from me, I never build the knowledge. I just remember and I memorize. So that's why I have to go through the exam. So this is the way that human face with everything to build that pre-existing knowledge, a schema. We call it a schema. And this theory also states that building knowledge happens best through building things that are tangible and shareable, right? So a constructionism, so this constructionism idea is the idea that people learn effectively through making things rather than just lecturing them and only a passive audience. So even if in this talk, let's say I can do something that you as an audience build something through what I'm going to present to you, then at the end of the day, at the end of the talk, you remember many things because you're not just listener. Okay, even I want to criticize now my talk. So, this is so. Let's consider this one, and now let's bring it to the classroom, and then bring it to technology. In a constructive or in a constructivist classroom, if you have a constructivist teacher, what this guy will do does this. He or she will create the situations that students will ask their own questions and each and they questions their own beliefs, their own ideas, and each other assumptions. And in a similar way, teacher put himself, herself in a situation that with the students, they can question everything, even those basic assumptions. In contrast with traditional model that I just come and I say, guys, I'm going to teach you trigonometry and that's A, B, C, D, and you follow me. But in this way, we get into the class by questions and we try to question everything and answer everything. And then so this is a very interesting approach. Rather than lecturing, teacher open a lot of questions and the students, all of them try to find the answers through building tangible solutions. Like, for example, maybe I come up with a project, a physical project that needs trigonometry. So then you as a student, you know why you need trigonometry. You apply it, I did it. So then you go and learn and read something about it or questions. So that's a very interesting way, constructing things. So in this way, each student has the chance to experience and process the information and turn it into personalized knowledge. It means I did it, I learned, I built it, I discovered E equal by MC2, I did the trigonometry, I feel ownership, so this is mine. I never say it's boring, I love it. And now this constructionism, this term coined by Seymour. Seymour is, Professor Seymour Papert, the one that we saw the video. He's a great mathematician, a reformist in the education field, and has done a lot of things on artificial intelligence. Okay, but he did something really interesting around 1980 and before 1980, but after 1980 became really popular. He created a kind of programming language called Logo, and Logo is not abbreviation, by the way, for anything. Logo is a Greek letter. The meaning of the logo is word or describe or tout. And then what he did, it's a very interesting software. It's in a programming language. The students, they can use the logo to draw geometrical shapes. So there are some instructions. For example, they can draw a square, they can draw the polygon, they can draw interesting shapes. And then also he created a little robotic machines to be connected to this language, that whatever they draw, and the robot will do the movement based on that drawing. So this was the environment. And then the way of teaching was facing children with the problem. That means spending a little time to teach them the instructions and then give them a lot of problem and questions that they do it by themselves. So the idea was creating a student-centered learning activities that required hands-on exploration. So children learn the commands and those graphic shapes and then apply it. And then so they feel the full building, creating, constructing, so that you can teach them geometry, you can teach them trigonometry, you can teach them a lot of things about mathematics, physics, and imagine if you can have more advanced technology, you can teach them chemistry in that way. That means program chemistry, build chemistry, so everything by construction. And it was a really successful, as you can see in this video, and similar concepts are utilized in Keto Code to train kids drawing shapes with a turtle. There's a turtle coming from this concept of the logo, and they draw shapes and write codes, and really fun, and they love it because they build it. His idea, I want to tell this and bring it back to technology, is so technically from 1980, this EdTech concept came to the game, that he brought this sort of technology. In general, when you look at the EdTech, it has another version of the story that when America in the Cold War, when they saw that Soviet, they put spotting the satellite, and then it was a kind of competition between them. Suddenly they focused a lot on technology and engineering, and they brought technology into schools in form of tools and gadgets to improve the students. But when we look at the EdTech as tools to train better the students, to me, one of the best starting point is what Professor Papert is down. And in general, I like to say this. His idea is this. He's claiming that children learn best when, number one, use tech-empowered learning tools and computational environments. Number two, take active roles of designers and builders. That means students act as designer and builders, not listener, not followers.
Yeah.
And number three, they do it in social settings with helpful mentors and coaches over networks. So this is what he tried to do to bring the EdTech. From that moment till today, there are now many apps, technologies, tools, gadgets, and environments that they're trying to do something like that. And his theory, his idea, is coming from sequence of famous people in history of education. It started from John Dewey. He was a philosopher and education reformist in 80, 90 centuries. And I like to talk about them in maybe other movies. Or the other one is Maria Montessori. We know many schools after her name.
Yeah.
Or very important person, Jean Piaget, of Switzerland, a psychologist and famous genetic epistemologist, that these two working together, Papert and this guy. And he's very famous on looking to how children, they build a cognitive model in their childhood time. So they too come up with a fantastic idea. So I really suggest people to search and read about it to understand that now people in the world, education is in the world, that they're talking about new approaches, better approaches, or constructionism, how they talk about it and how they build it. So this is a little bit of, real history of how technology and for what reason came to education.
Right.
So, there is a nice quote from John Dewey, that kind of philosopher that I said. He says that education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself.
Very, very well said. So, Uncle Code, I think you gave a very interesting explanation about EdTech and how it started, right? Now, if you bring it back to the present, right now, just this very, very small issue. We're just in the middle of one of the largest pandemics in human existence, right? And unfortunately, education is one of the first things that were shut down and that were impacted, right? Schools are closed. Parents and teachers both don't know what to do in this situation. And you talked about how a few things are very important. Social settings are important. Being an active participant in tech is important. So what is the impact of COVID-19 on the education system, and how do you visualize or see EdTech coming in to solve this problem?
The impact of the COVID and everything is very obvious on everything, and the social engagement. You know what? I think anything that Raj has been very dependent on the social engagement.
Very much, very, very much.
Give me some examples.
For example, when we first wanted to start the Uncle Talk show, the first thing I told you was, Uncle Code, we should really meet in person. I think like that interaction, that engagement would be much better. And you were like, no, I think virtual would be a better option, right? Like even from the get-go, this entire show is built during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is one of the many examples. Of course, things like hanging out with your friends in the mama, if you're talking about not learning, right? Hanging out with your friends, that is completely gone. People who have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, good luck, right? Good luck. If you guys ever need to cry after a breakup, please don't message me.
Not gonna work. That's the thing. Relationship.
Yeah.
I think any kind of social, any kind of things, entertainments or activities, which was very heavily dependent on the social engagement, like a football, like a cinema, like a musical concert. All these things, they are smashing, they change A to Z. And one of them is a school and education. which is basically based on going to a classroom, sitting down to the next students, close to the students, and teacher look at you. Everything about that approach is not healthy anymore.
Exactly. Copying your homework, talking at the back of the class, everything, the usual nonsense
Public
that kids are up
toilet,
to.
schools, all of them are dangerous now. So this is very important. Okay, I want to just give this very quick. I think a slow, piece of change in educational institutions around the world, in general, is an unfortunate. Is in general. It's not because of the COVID, before COVID, whatever. So difficult to move, so difficult to change. Look at this 1986. This guy talk about this, and we don't see that much different. I was thinking, but really, honestly, before COVID, I was thinking changing the banking system is difficult. But now when I look at the fintech and all these changes are coming, I changed my mind. Changing the education system is so difficult. And bringing EdTech, what fintech does with financial sector is exactly the same EdTech trying to do with educational centers. Banking system is very old, and also we used to it, and the notes and the money and all these kind of things and those kind of controls. So typically control system, centralized system is difficult to change them when the banking system, the now education. But anyway, from this point of view, I think the pandemic brought a great improvement, acted as a catalyst for educational institutions around the world in the search of those innovative solutions, and in a relatively short period of time. Look at how fast now they give permission to the vaccines, which typically takes 10 years. Do you see the similarity?
Yeah.
Within this COVID, 1.5 billion learners couldn't go to their school.
Yep.
1.5, but nothing happened for Netflix. Everybody could show his or her popular shows. Why Netflix business concept is so strong? What was wrong with their school? How outdated and dependent on the social and physical engagement that nothing left from a school after. So this is the main impact. To me, the main impact of the COVID is the awareness. Awareness. So what is the impact of the COVID on education? Awareness. Nothing new. 1986, this guy was telling you how is the future, but you guys forget. So now get the pain, enjoy from the pain, and understand what you miss. And I think this in general, I think education has changed, yes, dramatically and very fast and quickly toward this getting removed through the digital platforms and online. And when you get online, a lot of cool things come to the game. And although this radical change, agreed, this is a radical change, it has caused some disorders, but researchers, they figured out that this virtual learning increased information retention, and in a very agile way. I mean, like the result shows that this change will be a stay forever. Like after this COVID, I'm not going to ask my staff to come and work with me in the same physical location. We feel better, we feel efficiency. So it means these are not only for the COVID time. That's what I'm trying to say. That what you have to know, that change in education sector happened before COVID. In 2019, 2019, I guess, the global investment in the education sector was $18.6 billion US. And they projected now by 2026, this is going to reach to $375 billion US. $375 billion. So more money, Raj, more change, right? Wow. More innovation, more companies, more VCs, more investors, more technologies. It's coming. I'm pretty sure that education system flipped. And I'll tell this and finish this answer. In some countries, the education is very predominantly provided by government. Some countries are like that, like China. There are pros and cons, If you live in a society that things come preeminently from the government, if government is good or smart, things are good. If not, things are not good. So there is a pros and cons, and let me back again to the game. So there are pros and cons. In China, I know that the Ministry of Education, they brought a group of institutions and companies that are developing strong cloud-based online learning platform. And soon they transform everything to there. China, look at the population. So there's nothing else we should talk about it. Same goes to Hong Kong and Brazil. And some other countries that education is decentralized, corporations, they work like US, like Canada. It's 10 years, Microsoft, Google, they're investing a lot in technology and excelled a lot. And this is going to be a norm. This is going to be a norm. So catalyst, being a catalyst and bringing awareness is the main impact of COVID.
Right. But Uncle Kut, let's be honest here, right? Even though the numbers show that, okay, EdTech, online learning, virtual learning is good for the students, they show better results, and it is going to be the future, there's money being pumped in. The truth is, it's not going to be as straightforward as that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
There was this research that I was reading that was run by the University of North Carolina. They said that 92% of teachers are in support of virtual learning. But then there's still that 8% of teachers who are very against it, right? And there will be many other challenges and problems that will hinder the complete, or at least the majority adoption of EdTech as the new norm. So what are some challenges that you have seen?
Okay.
What are some obstacles that you foresee happening in the adoption of EdTech?
Agree. I want to pick up one thing that I believe in. I believe more in that. Okay, because this is a kind of long conversation, but I want to pick up one of them. I think yes, there are, however, challenges, okay, to be overcome. But I want to start with students who do not have access to reliable internet or technology to participate in this digital learning platform. And the gap is really huge between one country to the other country. Even within the same country, the gap is huge between two income groups. For example, Raj, in Switzerland or Norway or Austria or North Europe, okay, while 95% of students, they have access to computer for the schoolwork, in Indonesia is 34 to 40%.
Wow,
You see the gap? So
that's huge.
if the change happen immediately, many students lose the game. You know, we need a schools. We need is, but we need to bring this technology slowly. Although many schools and governments start to provide digital equipments, but still this is a big concern to me, and that the pandemic will delay and execute of this kind of procedures but I believe this is the trend. I believe this is going to come like a vaccines. I think how important is vaccines. I think how is important that every child has a cheap and good quality laptop and access to internet. So
Yeah.
and now companies, corporations, Google, Microsoft, and many more, they have to work on that. So this is my main there are psychological challenges, there are adaptation challenges, like many other transformations in the human story. But to me, the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges, is this.
Yeah, it's like a laptop is a vaccine for poor education.
And internet.
You know? Yeah, in the internet, right? There was this quote that I found online, very interesting. It made me think, not because of the grammatical structure of the sentence, but because it is a very interesting quote. Now, the quote says, technology will never replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers is transformational. Right.
Nice.
Right. And you talked about digital whiteboards, you talked about computers, electronic books, all these different ed tech tools that have been created. Now my question is, we have the tools. What do we need to do? What do the teachers need to do? What do the parents need to do? What do the students need to do in order to truly reap the benefits of digital transformation?
Okay, so very interesting question. You know what? I like to look at it like this. So there are two things: how we utilize these tools to bring that effectiveness, right? That's something that we're going to look at it. But I like to say that if first of all, is it effective? Is this online is effective or not? And then I bring it into how you can really bring that effectiveness. First of all, for those who have access to the right technology, there is an evidence that online learning can be effective in several ways. Even there are interesting researchers that show that on average, a student retain 25 to 60% more material when they learn online in compared with just 8 to 10% in classroom.
Wow.
Information retention, it's not a surprise because technology led me to watch a video, slow it down, pause, remember, take a rest a little bit. If I have to go to the toilet, I can go and I come back and then watch it. So it's easy. I can do a lot of graphic and tools to help me to remember. Some people, they learn by visual way.
Yep.
Some people, and we don't have that kind of things in a classroom. If you want to have a very engaging classroom, you need a very active or actress kind of teacher Not every teacher can do that. Not every teacher is
Yeah.
good to speaking. But when it comes to the online environment, even teachers with lack of speech ability, they can empower themselves, but they have a good knowledge because they can use tools, right? And also, there's another interesting fact that I like to share, Raj.
Mhm.
E-learning, e-learning requires 40 to 60 percentage less time to learn than a traditional classroom environment.
What do you mean by that, Uncle Code?
It means like in if it means like in half an hour of online learning, I learned like a 1 hour of classroom. You can think of it like that. Because you can save a lot of time. You have lesser distraction. You learn in the way and in the time that you want it because the students can assimilate knowledge at their own pace
Hmm.
and going back, rereading, skipping if a topic you know it, or speeding up if its concept is easy, or slow it down. So because then that's efficiency gonna go a lot. The student has control. That's the thing missed in the school system. I never had any control in my classroom. So teachers in this education model spend lesser on lecturing and spend more on this sort of self-learning skills and make students in the role. That means I can train my students how to read by yourself, how to listen by yourself, how to pause when something is difficult, what to do, because you are the one who's going to do that. It's like playing a game. So,
Right.
so there are a lot of studies that really shows interesting impact, and especially gamification. Gamification is the art of bringing interesting things that make you engage in the games, like scoreboard, leaderboard, badges, ranking, that kind of things. Plus, gamified environment that shows that children they engage with learning a lot. Many of these online platforms they reported this. So let me answer again. To get all the benefit of online education, you should go beyond replicating a physical class or lecture. And that's what I hate. People they think I'm using digital whiteboard. This means online education learning or EdTech. This is just a tools. And many schools, I don't understand what they're doing because they don't know it. I guess they just what they did through the COVID. They ask the students to go through the Zoom, but the rest is the same. They ask the child to write on a paper and show it to me this is ridiculous. But you have to understand there are tons of beautiful online apps, free apps that a teacher should understand them. It means I'm a teacher, I can create online quiz and send to my children. There's an online scoreboard, the student answer, a student they have questions, they click on a button, as soon as they have difficulties. So I can monitor all of these. If you utilize this range of tools and methods to bring engagement into your teaching approaches and make it very personalized, then you get the benefit of online learning. Otherwise, many parents they tell us that my child says, "Oh, I don't understand, it's boring," because those teachers couldn't utilize the platform. They just use tools and they call it online learning.
You mentioned very interesting. You mentioned games and gamification, and I speak on behalf of I don't know millions of kids all around Malaysia and the world, and of course there are parents and teachers listening in as well, right? Is there any benefit to children playing games like Fortnite, Overwatch? Is there any benefit of them playing games like this for education?
Okay. So let me not talk about that game itself, the Fortnite game. I'm talking about sorry. Let me talk about the game itself. Game, not the topic of the game. That's another kind of topic. Okay. So because attacking to the game, because for example you don't like the game that they are playing is a wrong things to do. But let me tell you something. When we talk about a game, two things come to our mind. One is gamification. So which is some techniques we borrow from game industry and apply to the working environment and business and marketing and education to make it fun and engagement, like royalty plan, collect point. So these are gamification. Okay, I already explained. I told you that these are really nice. They're definitely important. When you apply to any learning platform, children they love it because nice, healthy engagements, competitions,
Competition, right?
rankings, and badges, and collecting. That's kind of things that we love in the games. That's one thing. But number two is the video game itself. Is it effective to what we can learn from video games? That's what I like to say. That I want to tell you guys first that it's so effective. Let me tell you something. There's something interesting about these video games, and actually, Professor Papert has a quote, and I want to say he says that every maker of video games knows something that the makers of curriculum don't seem to understand. And let me explain what he's trying to say. Raj, you see, you will never see a video game being advertised as being easy, right?
Right.
Games are supposed to be challenging and difficult, and you never see a kid that play those games complain about their difficulty. They're so okay with that. They learn everything, they get the master, they love it actually. But you see many kids, they say school is boring. They don't say school is difficult, they say school is boring. Even when a child say school is difficult, it doesn't mean they don't like challenges. Then why do they play difficult games? The problem is school couldn't bring that fun and engagement out of the curriculum that they have designed. So Papert is trying to say that school curriculum designers, they need to know a little bit of the game design. Then they know how to make it fun. And I'm going to read exactly what he says. Okay? He says, game designers have a better take on the nature of learning than curriculum designers. Their livelihoods depends on millions of people being prepared to undertake the serious amount of learning needed to master a complex game. If their public fail to learn, they would go out of the business. In the case of curriculum designers, the situation is reversed. Their business is boosted whenever a student fails to learn. And a school
God.
new curriculum. I believe this explains why I have learned very little about learning from reading textbooks on curriculum design and have learned a great deal from both the user, mostly kids, and the designer, often grown-up kids of computer games. So this is what he says. What can I add to this? And that is nice. And I want to just say this. Let me go for the next question. You know the Mobile Legend, right?
Yeah.
It's a complicated game. A lot of things, a lot of weapons, a lot of categories, a lot of things. But you see, 5 years old can master the skill through that Mobile Legend. This shows that kid, and no mommy daddy taught them. Kid, they can do self-learning. They can go through the complex problem by their own and learn it and build skills. So when I'm trying to say that, I'm not saying play Mobile Legend. I'm saying when we have such a capability, what is happening in the Mobile Legend and is not happening in the school system? And Papert says that one. Curriculum designer, they never play game, I guess. And it shows you're losing a great capacity of human brain at age 4, 5, available early age, to utilize it in a constructive way. Let them build and create like a game. And we smash it by standard industrialized learning approaches, like more sit and listen and less do and learn. That's how I consider it.
Right. We're nearing the end of the episode, Uncle Code. We've got a couple more questions to go. Let's talk about action steps, right? Because we want people to walk away from this talk show learning something that they can apply almost immediately. For the parents and teachers watching the show, what is one thing that they can do immediately to help their children learn better using EdTech? Do you have any suggestions for them?
Okay, if I want to give just one direction, I want to just say that how I see the next step, how I see the future, how I see the progress of this change. You know what? It's very clear that pandemic has disrupted an educational system that to me has been losing its relevance for a long time. Okay, and it's very sad that I see how a school continue to focus on traditional academic skills and learning mechanics rather than the skills such as critical thinking and adaptability. And this is what I want parents and teachers and students think about it, that how they can utilize technology to save more times, to bring this opportunity for children to think, to do that. And one of the very important things that I suggest is the searching skills. For example, always I tell this to parents that, let's say your child asks you to buy a football ball, okay? So you can utilize that opportunity to ask him, well, I'm gonna do that, but I want you to go and search over the internet and tell me the history of the ball, why we use leather for the ball, is there any other material we can use for the ball? So you put your child in the quest of the research and question answering and come up with the knowledge and bring it out and learning. Now I buy for you a ball. So if you can ask your child to give a presentation about it, that is a beautiful thing. And I think what became clear during pandemic is the importance of spreading knowledge across physical location. companies, borders. That's what exactly we understand from the Zoom, and we understand that how it's important we sit down and be connected to everyone else. And technology, anything that led you to do that, is very important thing for the education. And moving to this constructivism, I guess that led the child to build things. Before, technology was a little bit difficult. You required maybe difficult and professional teachers. But thanks to technology and many tools and online things, I don't think it's very difficult to do that. I guess teachers, they can learn, first of all, a lot of online tools. We can talk about these tools maybe in another talk. We review maybe 10 tools good for education. I think it would be a good topics. And they ask their students to create a digital video, digital graphic, infographic, vlogging, a podcast, using classroom pooling apps. That means they do the votes and quizzes together. They develop collaborative projects among team members and using online tools, search, and these are the things we use in the social media. So let children, they do this for their educational content, and there are tons of them. There are a lot of abilities. There are lots of abilities, and that's my main things. That means they can think about this part.
Excellent. Final question of the day, Uncle Code. Let's talk about the future. How do you think classrooms, online learning, virtual learning is going to change post-pandemic and beyond?
Okay, this idea that I have is not something new. That means people, they know me. I was talking about this before. It's not because of the pandemic. I want to pick up a technical term, a term that people can search about it. I think future of the school and education is moving toward flipped learning model, flipped classroom. And what is this flipped classroom, flipped learning model? Is a methodology that helps teachers to give priority to active learning during the class time. And how they do that is very interesting. I wish I had this. What they do is very simple. A student, it's not anymore teachers talk in a classroom. All the lectures, all the material, all the presentations already created in form of the videos, articles, podcasts, audio, and everything will be shared with the students before they come to the class. So there is a before class. So what a student, they do in their own very, very own times, in their own way. They watch all the contents, they prepare themselves, they have the freedom to when to watch it, how to watch it, where to watch it, my room, in the sofa, whatever. And let them to engage the video content in the way that they want it. They pause, they learn. So they do a lot of learnings before the class, so they know what is the topic. They come to the classroom, now they know the topics. So what is happening, because as a teacher, I have lots of free times because I'm not teaching. So what I do, I make collaboratively learning. I let them to collaborate, discuss, and argue about their learnings and to solidify their understanding. Maybe in the small groups, maybe individually, and actually less sit and listen, more do and learn. So that's what they call it, flipped model. So they make the class very enjoyable, productive, and engaging. When the class finish, they go home, then they challenge again their understanding by themselves. So this is the future of the education, I guess. That means we have access to all the lectures and questions and everything before, and then we go to the class. It's a beautiful place, talking, engaging, criticizing, argue, debating, group projects, interaction, and then back home, do the tests and quizzes at home at their own time. This is coming. This is a very effective and constructive way to be the future of education. That's what I think.
That sounds like a wonderful utopia, Uncle Code. Yes, I think when the day that happens, I'm going to go back to primary school and start learning all over again.
Exactly. Let's do it together. I follow you.
Uncle Code, any final words before we wrap up the episode?
You know what? Today, you know what? Let me tell this, Raj. I guess, and you, your parents, teachers, school principals, everybody listening and watching us. I guess today, students can't imagine a world without technology. Even the reason they still have to go to the physical schools is not coming from their desire. It's coming from the traditional requests. It's coming from society they're living with. And COVID showed that. And what I'm trying to say that it looks like acting like a person is still looking for the paper-based newspaper to get the news because afraid of change. And in this case, that person is your kid. That means we, society, we're pushing them to go to an environment that doesn't fit with the way they've grown up. Computer have always been a part of children's lives. The moment they're born, they saw the technology. Young learners have been immersed in technology from the moment they could crawl. I guess when today children, the moment they the moment of the birth, the first things they see is the mommy phone taking selfie. It's like parent face. So for them, device technology is like their hand, like their body, not like you and me, that we know the world before technology, right? So if there is even a little friction between you and your children or your students when it comes to the technological world and consumption, I think probably this friction soon will go into oblivion when your children become the future parents. They sit down with their children, they watch Mobile Legends and play Mobile Legends together, and they have no issue about this. I want to say this. Rather than pushing children to think like adults, okay, we might do better to remember that they are great learners and try to harder to be more like them, not push them to be like us. We should prepare our children for 200 years beyond, not the ego. And if you want to do that, we have to utilize education model that talk about the technologies happening 200 years later. This is important. You can't put your children in traditional education model and expect to be a man of future, a woman of future. Not going to work like that at all. And I want to say this, technology in education is now more about integration rather than isolation. This is very important. And I want to finish up, Raj, with what Professor Papert said in the video. He said that now nobody really knows what the future will be like, but we know what it won't be like. We know that it won't be lots of children sitting in the desks with a pencil and paper writing all the day. We know these new technologies, these computers, and I want to add these apps, will be an important part of this change. So dear parents, teachers, decision makers, please let future happen.
Excellent. Please let the future happen. Don't try to stop the future. It is inevitable. And the more that we can do to support its growth and its acceleration, the better it will be for humankind. Excellent.
Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to Uncle Talk. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. The links are below.
All of it.
Everything. Follow all of it, right? And if you liked any specific part of the conversation today, if you have any questions for Uncle Code, put it in the comments section below and we might just answer it in one of the future episodes.
And you, dear current parents, those that are part of our community, I really love to hear from you guys. It means you guys can communicate, send us an email, talk with the teams, and bring up your questions and things that you have in your mind. And then we will try to see what we can create the content out of it. And then to close the connections and close us together, because this is a change that we have to do together. It's not a one-man job. It's not a one-company job. It requires a lot of people in the world. As you can see, there are many great people into this change, and hopefully one day happen soon. Thank you, Raj.
Thank you, Uncle Code. We'll see you in the next. All right. See you guys in the next episode.
Bye-bye.